So what we're making here are some egg dumplings. And by egg dumplings, I mean that the wrapper of the dumpling is made out of egg, which is really kind of a cool concept. But before we get on to the wrapper, let's start out with the filling. So what I've got here is about 1 kilo of pork. I'm only going to use half of it because we're not making that many dumplings. I'm just one person. Go ahead and slice it up into a small dice, and then we're going to be mincing this by hand. So grab your cleaver or whatever kind of knife you have and just start chopping away until it turns into a fine mince. Next, give it a few slams on a table to sort of tenderize and incorporate the fat into our mix. Next ingredient is leek. I'm going to use the white part, and we're just going to give it a quick little mince. The next vegetable we're going to add into our filling is called choisam. This one that I got is actually bok choisam, which basically translates to bok choy hearts. You can see it's a little longer than bok choy. I'm not sure what the flavor profile of regular choisam is, but I'm sure that bok choisam will be a fine substitute. And just for fun, let's throw in 3 Thai chilies. Again, we're going to mince these guys up. Add a little bit of regular soy sauce, and then a little bit of dark soy sauce. This has a much richer kind of flavor to it. Add a little liaozhou, aka Shaoxing wine, as well as a little bit of MSG just to enrich all of the flavors. Give it a good stir. Realize that your bowl is way too big, so put it in a smaller bowl. Mix in one direction only. I'm not sure why, but that's what I've seen in all the recipes. And now we're gonna form this into little filling balls so that we can just drop them right into the dumplings when we're ready. Now for the soup that we're gonna plop these guys into. Let's throw 2 liters of water into a large pot. Next, we've got some rehydrated black fungus that I'm gonna chop into some squares and dump those right in. I've got some Napa cabbage. Fun fact, the recipe I was using called for baby dishes. I guess that's what you call these in Chinese. Anyway, cut those into equal size pieces to the black fungus. Just try to get everything kind of a similar size as you're going. I'm gonna throw in 1 bouillon cube, a little bit of dark soy, a little Maggi seasoning. Not sure what that really does, but sure. And a little MSG to boost the flavor, as well as some chicken broth. Let's bring to a boil and cover it up for about an hour. Now for the dumpling wrappers. We've got 3 eggs. You can use however many eggs you want, depending on how many dumpling wrappers you want to make. Give it a good whisk. I use these chopsticks just to break things down a little bit better. Now the traditional method for making these wrappers is to use a hot ladle over a flame. So we're gonna put a little oil into the ladle for non-stickifying the interior of the ladle. Once that's good and loose, let's add a little bit of egg from another ladle and start to cook it down and let it stick to the sides of the ladle, forming sort of an omelet. Once it's fully formed around all the edges, let's drop in one of our filling lumps and then using some sort of implement, try and get the edges to come undone from the ladle. Try a spatula, I guess. This didn't really work. We're gonna go with a different method, the non-traditional method. Get yourself a tiny little frying pan. Throw a little bit of oil in there and then do the same old thing. We're gonna throw a little bit of egg in there and start forming our omelet. Throw in our filling, and since this is non-stick, we'll be able to easily fold it over. Now don't worry if you get a little hole in your egg, it's egg, so we can patch it up with more egg. That's the beauty of these wrappers. It's super easy, just throw more egg at it. Let's try this again. Make your omelet, put in the filling, give it a good flip, and you can pinch the edges shut with your spatula, but you know, it'll stick anyway because it's an egg. Once you got a few of those dumplings together, let's throw them into our soup. Cover it up and let it go for about 10 or 15 minutes until the meat is cooked all the way through. Start with the broth. Not bad. Could have gone for longer, could have had a deeper flavor, but it's basically chicken broth with a little bit of extra umami going on from the MSG and whatever else. The mushrooms and the napa don't add much to the flavor of the soup whatsoever. The mushrooms have like absolutely no flavor. Good texture though. It's kind of this, it's kind of chewy, but then it's got a little snap at the end. Check out these dumplings, which are the star of the show, hopefully. Yeah, I mean I think the egg wrapper, as opposed to a flour wrapper, it has, doesn't get stuck in your teeth, it doesn't linger in your mouth as much, so you really just focus 100% on the filling, which is, it's a good thing we put all of those ingredients in the filling instead of just your standard cabbage and meat. You really barely notice that the egg is even there. The filling is similar to wonton, so putting it in the similar kind of broth to wonton soup, it needs a salty kind of broth to hold up to the saltiness and just oomph of this filling. These not only are gonna impress people if you break them out at a dinner, but also takes such little time. You're beating some eggs together instead of spending a half an hour making dumpling dough. So I would seriously recommend trying this out. Use the skillet method instead of the spoon method, unless you want to break your back over something that doesn't need to be stressful.